So thank you everybody for joining us. We are incredibly excited to have Dr. Bolte-Taylor join us. And I'm Jennifer Miller. I'm the Dean of the College of Education, the new Dean of the College of Education. Actually, in about a minute, I'm going to celebrate my third month. On November 1st, I will have been here 12 weeks, so it's very exciting. So thanks for joining us. And Donna, if you want to take it away, I will pass it right on to Dr. Donna Keel.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller. And it is my total joy to introduce you to someone who is not only a scholar and a writer and author, but also a dear friend and someone I think is changing the world. So it is my honor to introduce you to Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor, who is a Harvard-trained and published neuroanatomist, and whose research specialized in understanding how our brain creates our perception of reality. She was interested in the subject because she has a brother who is diagnosed with the brain disorder schizophrenia. Dr. Jill is the author of the New York Times best-selling memoir, My Stroke of Insight, A Brain Scientist's Personal Journey, published in 2008, which is still often the #1 book about stroke sold in Amazon, in addition to her second book, Whole Brain Living, The Anatomy of Choice and the 4 Characters That Drive Our Life, which was published in 2021. Dr. Jill in 2008 gave the first TED Talk to go viral, and she became world famous instantly. And her TED Talk has now been viewed over 27.5 million times. I think 20 million of those were mine. She also, My Stroke of Insight became the go-to book for lots of educators here at DePaul. It's one that I also use in several of my classes. Dr. Jill remains the national spokesperson for the Harvard Brain Tissue Resource Center, the Harvard Brain Bank, where she educates the public about the shortage of brain tissue donated for research into severe mental illness. In October 2021 is when Dr. Jill became connected to DePaul as we began to research the impact of whole brain living in school communities. A research team of myself and Dr. Melissa Ackerman and Dr. Andrea Kane, along with research team from Butler University, have been researching the impact of training the entire school community in whole brain living. And to sum up the impact of the research, it has transformed school communities and all of our lives. And so it is my honor to now introduce you to Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor. Jill, it's all yours.
Perfect. Sorry. Thank you. So, hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for signing in today. I'm going to work from a PowerPoint. And Donna, do they have access to any of what we're giving, or is it just like, hang on for the ride and we'll get it to you later?
No, Maya will have access to all of them because they had to register, so they'll have access to everything.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to shift on to my my share screen, so you see that instead of me. And is that working for everybody? Can you see whole brain living and a big brain right there?
Perfect, Jill.
Perfect. Okay. So welcome to Whole Brain Living. You know, it has been such an honor for me to work with Dr. Donna at DePaul because I am an academic. I do have an adjunct at the IU school, school at Indiana University's School of Medicine, Department of Neurology, but I'm really an educator. So being able to become an adjunct faculty at DePaul in education is, my heart has landed gently here. I feel good about it. So thank you for letting me do that. So I'm going to start in on whole brain living. I have a tendency to get extremely excited. It's kind of like I'm going to encourage you to really just listen, watch the images and listen, because I'm painting a picture for you of your brain. And the thing about whole brain living and my personal journey, if you don't know my personal journey, I was a neuroanatomist at Harvard, and at the age of 37, a blood vessel exploded in the left half of my brain. And within the course of 4 hours, I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. But I remained conscious. And although the left hemisphere went offline, I still had a completely functional right hemisphere. And it took 8 years for me to rebuild the skill sets of my left hemisphere using my right hemisphere and how it understood what I actually needed in order to recover skill sets. So it's an unusual story. There's no new science here, but what is here is a new level of understanding and differentiation about the different parts of the right hemisphere, the left hemisphere, the emotional brains, as well as the thinking brains. So when you think about whole brain living, that's essentially what I gained because of the stroke experience. So instead of having my unconscious brain remain unconscious, it became my conscious brain. And then I used that to build the rest of my brain, which is technically what we call our conscious brain. So it's whole brain living. And so however many there are of us here on here, there's actually 4 times that number, because we each have 4 modules of cells that each have 4 very distinct personalities. I'm going to introduce you to the brain from that perspective. So welcome to whole brain living. Okay, let's see. Perfect. So the brain is made up of beautiful cells, the neurons. The neurons are the big conducting cells that hook together in circuitry, and every ability we have is because we have brain cells that perform that function. So I can create language, dog is a sound, then your brain places meaning on that, and it's really all neurons doing their duty. So if we have neurons performing a function, great. If those neurons become disturbed and they go offline, we simply lose that skill set. So, but this is the beautiful neuron, and a neuronal network inside of our head is so dense that a single neuron, like this beautiful neuron, can have 10 to 15,000 other connections all at the same time. So the level of connectivity inside of our brain is responsible for us to be able to experience the world from the outside, process that information, integrate that as thoughts or emotions that ultimately then result in behavior. So every ability we have is dependent on the cells underlying that ability. So there are just a few myths about the brain I want to bust right off the bat. The first one then is going to be that we only use 10% of our brain. No, it's not true. This is a quote that happened back in like the early 1900s. And it was long before we really understood the brain. Neurons are like living creatures, and they're like humans. We have to have stimulation and be a part of a network in order to thrive. So if you have a neuron and it's alive in your head, you can rest assured you're using it. Do we know what you're using it for? Most things. We've mapped the brain quite a bit. So it's just a myth that we're only using 10% of our brain. The second big myth is that the right brain is our emotional brain and our left brain is our rational thinking brain. Now, although it is true that the left thinking tissue is our rational brain, we have 2 emotional modules of cells, 1 in each hemisphere, and here that's depicted in yellow. And then we have 2 modules of thinking tissue added on top, and that is thinking tissue in each hemisphere. So each hemisphere is feeling and thinking. And the third myth I want to bust then is that we don't grow any new neurons or any new connections between these cells that we have. And that's just not true. We know that we do have neurogenesis, especially in relation to trauma. Our brain will grow some new neurons. And neuroplasticity is our ability for our brain cells to rearrange which other cells they're communicating with so that we can learn new material. If our neurons were just static and in position, we couldn't bring in anything new, because in order for new to happen, new associations and connections have to be made. So those are 3 of the major myths that I just want you to think, no, those are myths. So when we think about the evolution of the mammalian brain or the evolution of cellular life like us, we have a level of sophistication of the reptilian brain represented by our brainstem structures. And this is where information is streaming in through our cranial nerves. And this is pretty much on-off switches. We share this part of the brain with reptiles. I'm hungry, I eat, I'm done with that. I'm not hungry anymore, etc. The next level is going to be new tissue added on top. So the difference between a typical mammal and a reptile is the addition of this emotional feeling limbic tissue. And in the limbic tissue, it's bilateral. That's where we're going to have an amygdala in each hemisphere, a hippocampus in each hemisphere, a cingulate gyrus in each hemisphere. And so these are portions of our brain that we share with other mammals. And then the human adds new tissue on top, which is our thinking tissue. And then we also have that in both hemispheres. And the thing about the way development like this happens by adding new tissue above tried and true circuits that have worked for eons of time is that the new tissue is designed to modulate and regulate the tissue below it. So our emotional and feeling information comes in, and that becomes the new filter to regulate the reptilian systems. And then the thinking tissue comes in, and it's specifically designed to modulate and regulate our emotions and our feelings. So when you think about us as humans, we have these two emotional and these two thinking groups of cells. And relatively speaking, we are not completely evolved yet. So what we are doing is working the kinks out between these 4 different groups of cells. So as you look at this image, stimulation is going to come into the sensory input of the reptilian brain. It's going to send that information immediately to our limbic emotional brain tissue. And then from there, it's going to be sent up into our thinking tissue. So what this means at a behavioral level, at a biological information processing, is that we are feeling creatures who think. We are feeling creatures who think, because the information comes in and it hits the emotion, the amygdala, alarm, alarm, alert, alert, am I safe, in each hemisphere. And then from there, it gets processed up into our higher cognitive thinking. So as we stop and we think about the school community and our environment with our children, if our children don't feel safe in the physical environment within which they are, they cannot access their thinking tissue. So this is why it's so important that we really consider what's going on at this level of our brain. And the limbic tissue, the emotional tissue of the amygdala, the hippocampus, the cingulate gyrus, it is all in relationship of my reactivity to the immediate environment. And this tissue never matures. And it never matures because it's right here, right now, processing information. And so when we think about the fact that, yes, we all have an inner child, well, the fact of the matter is we have 2 inner children. We have the inner child of our right hemisphere, which is the experience and reactivity of the right here, right now. And then there's the inner child of the left hemisphere, which is our emotional reactivity based on our past experience and our fear of the future. So we end up with these very complex little children in us who biologically, anatomically will never mature because it is actually their job to be reactive. But then we have this new tissue added on top, which is of the higher thinking cerebral cortex. Okay, I'm going to take a little pause. I'm going to take a little sip. I'm going to let y'all breathe and go, oh my God, what was that? Okay, so then we have these 2 cerebral cortices. And in this image, I have cut the corpus callosum, which is a fiber network between the 2 hemispheres made up of some 300 million fibers. And that way, what's going on in the right hemisphere and what's going on in the left hemisphere, comparable groups of cells are communicating with one another and actually have an idea then of what's going on over there. And when you look at these duplicate groups of cells, then one group of cells is being dominant and another group of cells is being receptive. So as we look at our own brain and we consider what's going on at the level of modules of cells, then it makes sense. And we start being able to realize, yes, I do have the power to choose which part of me do I want to be dominant and which part of me do I want to be calm and quiet. So as we look at the two hemispheres, we can cut them in half. They're completely separate groups of cells in that they don't share any cell bodies. When you think about a primary difference between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere cells at a circuitry level is in the right hemisphere, which is going to focus on right here, right now, immediate experience, no past, no future, nothing other than what I'm experiencing in the here and now moment. And what happens is the information is coming into a group of cells, and then there's this divergence of that information processing so that I end up with a big picture, expansive openness of experience simply based on the anatomy. And then the opposite is going to happen in the left hemisphere. In the left hemisphere, more cells are going to then focus on fewer cells and fewer cells and fewer cells at a circuitry level, so that this group of cells is biologically programmed to take in more data and then hone in, constrict that area of focus and focus on details, as well as by doing this, we end up with a linearity across time. And there ends up being a past and a present and a future at the level of the left hemisphere. Wipe out the left hemisphere, and these people, all they have is the experience of the present moment. Wipe out the right hemisphere, and these people spend a whole lot of time in the past and a whole lot of time in the fear of the future. So at an anatomical level, different groups of cells are arranged in circuits in different ways in order to result in different information processing. So as we then look at the bigger picture of these two hemispheres, we end up with left thinking tissue, and I call that character one. And I call that character one simply because I want to go in that order. There's no other real reason, but I had to call it something. And I didn't want to call each of these modules of cells a name and have you call it the same name, because I actually want you to name your own 4 characters. Because if I name your 4 characters and I name your character one something and it means nothing to you, you won't remember it. But if you name your 4 characters, then it's meaningful to you and you will remember it. So character one is left thinking, and the left thinking tissue is up there. You can see where that is. Left emotional tissue is what I call character 2. Right emotional tissue is going to be character 3, and right thinking tissue will be character 4. And what happens is, just think about it. As we look at the different groups of cells, each of these different groups of cells, characters 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's a group of cells. And those groups of cells do very specific things. And they do them in conjunction and interconnected with one another. And ultimately, those behaviors end up feeling and looking like very specific personalities. So at a neuroanatomical level, each of us have each of these skill sets biologically. Your brain is virtually identical to mine, except for minor differences in how things are connected. But in the overall organization of the brain, we're all going to have character 1, character 2, character 3, character 4. So what does character 1 do? Character 1 is left thinking tissue. This tissue is what most people would consider our rational thinking brain. So if you go to a scientist and you say, what is a conscious person? They will say to you, a conscious person is someone who is capable of rational thinking. So to the world of science, the portion of our brain that is conscious is this left thinking tissue. It has linearity across time. It is ego driven. Inside of this group of cells is a group of cells that says, I am an individual. And I am an individual because there's another group of cells right up there that defines the boundaries of where I begin and where I end. So because I have a group of cells in my left thinking tissue, I know that these glasses are not of me, but that this massive nose hanging off the front of my face is of me. So it is the individual. I am defined by this group of cells in my character one. Wipe out my character one and I don't have an individuation anymore. I wipe out the cells that say this is where I begin and this is where I end. And instead, I'm still conscious, but I feel connected to every atom and molecule in the universe because that's what those cells do over there. They define for me the boundaries of where I begin and where I end. And behaviorally, what it is good at, it is differentiating between a this and a that. It's looking for boundaries, not just between me and the bigger picture, but it's looking at differences in things that are around me. So it creates order in the world somehow or another. As life came onto this planet, it is driven towards creating order out of disorder so it can make sense out of nonsense. I'm going to say that again. The character one is designed to make order out of disorder and to make sense out of nonsense. And we have to have that in order to attend to the external world and interact with it. And so character one interacts with it by creating order, by categorizing things, it organizing things, it plans well, it plans for the future because it has that linearity of time. It defines what is the social norm and how do I fit myself into that social norm that is outside of myself. It critically analyzes everything, including what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. And it loves to control everything, people, places, things, time. It's very good at focusing on all that, creating order of that, and controlling it. And if we have a perfectionist inside of ourselves, it would be character one. So it cares about appearances and it tends to be neat. And because it can manipulate time, it is punctual. It respects authority because it thinks not just linearly, but hierarchically. And it knows where it is on that hierarchy, and it knows what the next level is, and it knows who's below it and who's above it, and what does it have to achieve in every category there possibly is. It needs to be right. Yeah, so the part of you, if you ever get in an argument and you just fight, yabba, it needs to be right. So whenever you're in that frame of mind, you'll know I'm in my character one. It thinks linearly, so it thinks sequentially and mechanically, putting pieces of a complex puzzle together. And one of those puzzles is language. And language is also very detail-based. So the left hemisphere is focusing on detail. It protects its own because mine, my family, my people, my money, my bank account, my stuff, versus you and yours. So it's very clear on what is mine and what is yours. So it contributes to that individuality and that ego. And where is that ego in the hierarchy of it wants more of something? It is our rational thinking, and it can be dishonest. Our left hemisphere, character one, can make a decision that it's gonna tell a lie. And then it goes over to the right hemisphere and it says, hey, right hemisphere, we're going to tell a lie. Don't show it on our face and don't show it in our voice, right? So in the right hemisphere, then either agrees or disagrees. And, some people are really good at deceiving others because they've got this jive going on between their different characters. Okay, so that's character one. And let me keep going. So this is me. My character one left thinking she's a presenter. She's going to show up on stage. She's going to do her thing. She's going to focus on her details. She's going to communicate what she does. She's an academic. She's a book author. She's whatever she is, all those titles. And that's what she does. So as you think about your character one, think about your character one. You probably know this part of yourself. Do you recognize this part of yourself? And Donna, I don't know if you want people to start putting some language into the chat room.
Yeah, I would invite everybody, if you're identifying with your character one, you can start adding comments in the chat so that we can all share.
Perfect. If you do recognize this part of yourself, describe yourself. Use 3 words. What are the 3 words that come to your mind about, well, who is that inside of you? Bossy. Yeah, probably. Naturally. Anybody else? Do I have a shy group of people? CEO,
There you go.
teacher, coat, smart, rigid. Yeah, because, there's right, wrong, good, bad, right? Humorous. Organized, humorous. I'll talk about that one later. Organized, teacher, boss, judgmental, organized. Perfect. Okay, so then I want you to give this part of yourself a name. I think it's really, ambitious. Absolutely. I think it's really important that you name this part of who you are. I call mine Helen. Hell on wheels. She gets it done. She's busy. She's always got a to-do list. Because I give her an identity. Even my friends will call me up on the telephone, and this part of me will answer the phone, and they'll say, "Oh, hi, Helen. Do you think maybe someone else could call us back later today?" And it's like, let me put it on my to-do list, because that's what Helen would do, right? So I'm going to encourage you to give yourself a name. So anybody in the chat room? Maslow. Yeah. Oh, business Anya. Okay. Some other character ones, Eleanor Dashwood. Give me some more. Give me some more. Dr. Donna, what do you call yours?
The principal.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's who she is. The boss. Yeah, she's the boss. Napoleon. That's how it goes. Bossy boots. Exactly. Make it fun. Make it interesting. Because it's yours, and nobody else needs to know your name but you need to give it a name, because that way then in your own mind, as you're calling on this part of yourself, you can get to it quickly. It feels respected. You build a relationship with these 4 different parts inside of yourself. And then, oh my gosh, everything can change inside of your life. So where or when does this part come out? I missed one. There you go. When does this part come out? This part of mine lives in the office, and she lives right here where I do my Zoom calls. She's on the phone. She's busy. She's making lists. She comes out at the store when I'm just like running through the list. So where or when? On the tennis court. You are absolutely probably not a lot of fun to play with. Because for you, then it's going to all be about competition. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but you know how that goes. Yeah, my mom's name. A lot of people, they go by their mom, or they go by their aunt, or they go by that teacher who was that character one. So where or when does this part come out? And do you like this part of yourself? On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being, yeah, I really like this part of myself because it gets a lot done, or a 1 because it's not the nicest part of me. Do you like yourself? A 5, can't live without her. You really can't. 4, 7. I do think I said on a scale of 1 to 5, but I'll take a 10. That's fine. I love it. Okay, so do you like this part of yourself? All right. Who reaches out to this part of you? Who reaches out to this part of you? So you have a network with your character one. Character ones tend to like character ones because we get stuff done. And, you know, it is true when you have something that you need to get done, or you need to give it to somebody, give it to the busiest person that you know, because they'll put it on the list and they'll get it done. Essentially, you're giving it to a character one. So who reaches out? Who really likes your character one? Who is your character one good at working with or taking care of? Yeah. Sibs, family, colleagues, family. Yeah. Okay, here's the better question. Who does not care for this part of you? Who runs from this part of you? My brother runs. As soon as he hears that tone in my voice, he's gone, right? Who? Me. My husband, friends, sisters, kids, my youngest child, fun living friends, right? They don't, you know, they want you to be fun loving. They don't, you know, they don't want to just compete with you on the tennis court. They want some fun. Okay, yeah, people who lead with their emotions, they don't like this part because, yeah, emotions are a part of who we are. My kids, yeah, because sometimes it's just about, I just want you to love me. I don't need you to fix me, right? My therapist. My therapist. Okay, so, Dr. Donna, should we pause right there, or should we just keep plowing through?
I think so that we have time for character two, let's keep going.
Okay, so so character two is going to be, I'm going to close this out. Character two is the left emotional tissue. And this is all of our emotions from the past, because the right hemisphere is right here, right now. And the left hemisphere is all about this linearity across time. So everything that's happened to me emotionally in the past, it could be positive emotions, it could be negative emotions. This is the pride I felt when I got my doctorate. This is the pain I felt when my mother passed away. This is all the emotions from our past. And the reason why we have our character two, and why character two is so important, is that character two gives us an opportunity to look at something and address it, reflect upon it, so that we can have personal growth. If we just cut this part of our brain out, and I know most of us have gone to therapy and said to our therapist, can't we just cut this part of my brain out? I don't want to feel all that. It's like, no, you got to go through it in order to be able to learn from it. So our personal growth happens at the level of the emotion of our past, and so that we can address our fears of the future. And anxiety is the discomfort that we feel in the present moment, usually about the past as it projects into the future. So all of these emotions that we get caught up in, this is a personality. And this personality comes out as a whole character, which is very different from our character one thinking tissue. So as we look at what's going on in this is the amygdala and the hippocampus and the cingulate gyrus of our left hemisphere. And so information streams in the present moment, and it hits that amygdala in the left hemisphere. And there are actually cellular fibers. It's a miracle. It's just a total miracle that our brain can do this at all. But our brain takes that information and says, what I'm experiencing right now, is there any experience I've ever had in my past for me to say, this is a danger, this is a threat, push it away, I don't want it? Okay, so this is designed to save our life. This is self-preservation. And in order to have that self-preservation, we have to have this tool that allows us to immediately alarm, alert, this does not feel safe based upon my past experience. And based on that, we tend to, as individuals, fight, flight, or freeze, or flop. I guess I really like that one, based on what the situation is. And so I might fight in one scenario, but I might freeze in another scenario. So it's not like we just do one. It's like, no, we're wired for all of them. In different situations can manifest as any of those. So character two is the emotional pain from the past. So it is our present anxiety, and it is our fear of the future, of the unknown. It includes all of our past trauma. So our post-traumatic stress is located inside of this tissue. And when we wipe out this tissue, that kind of disappears. And it's also our addictions. If you open up this part of the brain right here in the temporal region on the left hemisphere, if you go deep inside of here, this is our addiction tissue, and that is our character 2 tissue. So we feel safe based on things that feel familiar. So if I'm used to dogs and I see a dog, then I'm probably going to be okay with that dog. If I live with an alcoholic and I grow up with an alcoholic, I might feel safe. My character 2 might feel more safe or choose a partner who's an alcoholic because that feels familiar. And there's a level of safety in it of what I can expect from that alcoholic. So character 2, we could spend 3 weeks talking about nothing but character 2, but it's really important because this is all of the pain from the past. And when we go into therapy, usually we're rooting out and digging out and working out and looking at our character 2 stuff. So this is, if it feels safe, this is where our racism and our bigotry, we're all wired to be racist. What does that actually mean at a brain level? What that means is that if all I know when I grow up is a certain race of people, then I feel safe around that certain race of people. And so people who don't look like what is familiar to me, my character 2 might choose to push that away. Does that mean I'm racist or I'm bigoted? What that means is that I simply don't feel safe because that doesn't feel familiar to me. And I think as we really begin to understand ourselves at a cellular level, we stop just putting labels on people and we're actually sympathetic to people's reactions based on their experiences. So this is, again, our cravings additions. This part of my brain falls romantically in love, and it loves you conditionally. I will love you as long as you A, B, C, D, E, because that's familiar and that's in my box of safety. But if you do E, F, G, H, then that's outside of my realm of safety, and I don't love you anymore. And I might actually hate you because that flips that circuit from love and hate. It's fascinating. This part of our brain, little character 2, it worries. It tends to complain. It tends to hold grudges. It likes to blame others for our pain. It feels guilt about its own behavior from the past. It feels shame about what of our brain then can end up being potentially suicidal. It is egocentric because it's about me and my pain, and it is self-centered. It tends to it doesn't have a problem being deceptive or dishonest because it's trying to save itself. It's in self-preservation. It can be narcissistic, all about me. I'm the center of the universe, because we all are at the character 2 level. It can be grandiose because that's what we're wired to be at the character 2 level. And it has this natural fearful nature that leaves us feeling constricted and vulnerable. So do you recognize this part of yourself? This is what mine tends to look like. And do you recognize this part of yourself? Let's go back to Chad. Tell me, yes, no, do you recognize this part of yourself? What a fun exercise. Mwah. Yes. Yes, if you don't recognize this part of yourself, ask your spouse or your partner or your children. They probably recognize this part of you. And it's important to know this part of who we are so we can recognize it is our pain. It is there to serve us well so that we can help ourselves heal. And at the same time, with whole brain living, it's important to note I have a character 2. And a character 2 is my pain and not the healthiest part of me. But I have a character 1 that my character 2 can count on to fix things. I have a character 3 to help bring me into the present moment of experiential, and it can bring me into 4, which connects me to the bigger picture. So what else? Use 3 words to describe this part of yourself. Give me 3 words. Bitter Betty. Okay, I'll take the name too. Either give me a name or give me 3 words. Monkey brain. Yes, that's exactly what we refer to as the monkey brain, as well as character 1. She is judgmental. This part is very judgmental. Needy, pleasing, fearful, impatient, scary, comfort, anxious, bye-bye joy. Getting through the tough parts. That is exactly right. This is the part of us that is getting through the tough parts. So where or when does this part come out? I call my little one Abby. Abby is short for abandoned. When I came flying out of my mother's womb, before that, I was in this beautiful symbiotic relationship with my mother's beautiful heartbeat and her blood supply, and it was warm in there. And I'm thinking I was pretty happy. And then boom, I was born, and boom, for me, I think that was the birth of my little Abby, who started wailing and screaming, "Oh my God, what is this?" Right? So this is just that experience of how do I manage that. So my little character comes out with generally very specific situations or very specific people. You know, this is my trigger. When am I emotionally triggered? Very few people can do that, but you know, it's there. And knowing who you give the power to jump on your trigger for your little character too is important, because we usually give that permission to people we love. What we really need is to be loved. We need them to come toward us, and instead we get generally rebellious and push them away. Where am I? Where's my power? Do you like this part of yourself? Well, it took me a long time to really appreciate my little character too, but I really do appreciate her because she's information. She's information about what do I need to look at? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to spend time with? How do I get past this painful love into an open love so that I can help myself heal? So this part of ourself is so, so, so important. Who do you know of in your world who reaches out to this part of you? Whether you're in pain or whether they're in pain and your pain and their pain, misery loves miserable company. So consider who's your misery loves miserable company. Yeah, therapists absolutely will reach in for this part of you. Trusted friends, absolutely, they will hold us perfect. And when our spouse will show up for us like that, absolutely important. My own self-observations, absolutely, because that's going to be your characters 1, 3, and 4. Yeah, good friends. Beautiful. You know, this is how we love one another. Who does not care for this part of you? Whenever this part of you comes out, who runs from this part of you? I don't know if that's the daughter reaches out to your part or runs from this part. So who doesn't care for this part of you? Some people are just sunshine friends. You know, it's like, no, you got to always be whatever, but I can't handle that pain, or I can't handle your anger, or I just can't, you know, I have to put a distance between your worrying or you're blaming everybody. I have to put a distance. And it's important to create healthy boundaries, not just inside of ourselves, but in all of our relationships with other people. So I'm going to, go back. Okay, so we're up to character 3. And character 3, if you're looking at a brain, and character 1 is this, and character 2 is this, and character 3 and 4 are now the right brain. And the right brain's going to be, character 3 is going to be that emotion, and character 4 is going to be that thinking tissue. So in character 3, right hemisphere emotion, It's all about the present moment. The right hemisphere is right here, right now. When I had that hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of my brain, for 8 years, I didn't have a past and a future. For 8 years, all I had was a focus on the present moment experience, and I was literally as big as the universe. And although I was repairing circuits going on in that left hemisphere of character 2 and character 1, they weren't these big, bold personalities anymore. All I had was this character 3 and character 4 thinking. So, whoops, back. Okay, so let me make it so we can see it. So this is going to be the emotion of the right here, right now, present moment experience. Alarm alert, present moment. Am I safe in the right here, right now? And in the right here, right now, based on the immediate situation, not the past, not the future, am I safe? And if I'm not safe, am I going to fight? Am I going to flee? Am I going to freeze or flop over? I love that. So it's the right here, right now experience. Now, in the consciousness of the right hemisphere, if the left hemisphere has me, the ego, and the boundaries of where I begin and where I end, and the language that says I am an individual, if that's all over there in the left hemisphere, in the right hemisphere, I don't have any of that, because I don't have this group of cells back here that defines the boundaries of where I begin and end. So I feel in the right hemisphere that I'm simply as big as the universe. And so in that present moment, I become connected to all that is. And that means we all become a we, and I'm not just a me. And in the we consciousness of humanity, we all are brothers and sisters here on this planet. And I care about the big picture because that's all I am in the right hemisphere. And of course, I'm collaborative and I share because I'm sharing with myself. There's no separation between that which I define as me and which you define as you, and we're separate. We have to have a left hemisphere for that. So I'm going to behave in a way where I'm a part of the collective whole. And it's experiential. I'm in my body and I'm experiencing as big as the universe. What does it feel like when I dive into the water and I experience the pressure of the water against myself, and I experience a temperature change, the temperature of the water, and I'm experiencing wetness versus dryness, but I'm connected to all of that. I'm not separate from it. It's very musical because music is a language that is of sound, that is collective and vibrational, and it's everywhere. It doesn't just stop and begin. It's athletic because I'm in my body having timing and movement and experience, and it's artistic because there is no right or wrong or good and bad. It's just the process of creativity. It is empathic and forgiving because, again, we're not separate from one another. So this part of me is very playful and very joyful, and there's no judgment of right and wrong. So I'm curious and I'm creative and I'm adventurous and I'm possibility-based instead of right, wrong, good, bad. And if I'm possibility-based, then I'm innovative and entrepreneurial because I'm interested in creating something new, something of the present moment. I'm enthusiastic in the present moment. I can be explosive in the present moment. And this is where our adrenaline rush comes in. So this is the part of us that is an adrenaline junkie. So I call this part of me Pigpen. It's after Charles Schulz's little character, Pigpen, who's walking around in a dust storm. And Pigpen is just present and just good. And the dust could be from 2,000 years ago and doesn't care. It just is what it is. And it's just good with whatever is. And let's face it, chaos is the first step in the creative process, which means mess is a good thing. And so this is the part of me that is very artistic, very musical, just very experiential. And so this is your right character 3, right emotion. So this is what mine does. Whoops, mine. I'm a stone carver, among other things, and it's literally the Pigpen dust storm goes everywhere. So this is limestone from here in Bloomington, Indiana. We're a mecca of the world, so I can drag these off the street and sculpt them. So as you then think about yours, do you recognize this playful experiential part of yourself? Let's go back to chat. Do you recognize this part of yourself? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. A lot of people will say no. And they say no because their character 1 won't allow the character 3 to come out and play because it sees it as a waste of time. So if it's a no, it's a no. And we're going to work on that, we hope, and create yes. But this is yes, 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 yes. Yoga you. That's exactly right. Playing with my niece and nephew. Absolutely. This is playful, restorative time. Yes, music. Absolutely. Beautiful. It's so important to allow this part of yourself to come out and play. So describe this part of yourself in 3 words or give it a name. Dancing. Yeah. You know who's dancing. It's your little character 3. Pippi. Optimistic. Joyful. Free. Margot. Calliope. I love this. Teaching with others. You want to teach with that person. Spontaneous. Absolutely. So this is little character 3. Playful. Cup-filled. I love that. That's free fall. Poetic spirit. These are beautiful. Absolutely. So this is your little character 3. So when does this part come out? Where does it come out? Mine's going to come out. Mine comes out on the tennis court, but I'm not competing. I'm just out there whacking that ball, right? The competitive nature, that character 1, they're going to keep the score. Summertime. Exactly. Summertime. When I'm teaching, you got to love it. Your kids will love you. Concerts in nature. Yes. In the bath. Yes. On a whiteboard. Yes. You get it. This is all exactly right. Do you like this part of yourself? Based on all that, I'm going to keep going because it's clear it's a yes. Who reaches out to this part? Think about your own personal friends, your own personal network. Who reaches out to this part? And equally important, who doesn't care for this part of you? You know, who shuts this part of you down? And it's important to think about that because it's probably their character 1 or character 2 who is feeling threatened by this part of you. And as you think about this in this dimension, you know, if there's 4 in me and 4 in you, there's 8 of us in every relationship. Good friends love this. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to go on to character 4 and then we can push a pause button. Dr. Donna, I'm guessing you have that'll be a good time for a little pause.
I think so. We've got some questions. So that's
Okay.
great.
Okay, let me go through 4 then. Character 4 is going to be the right thinking tissue. Well, why do we have right thinking tissue? Imagine what that personality would be like. If it's right here, right now, and it's not experiential or emotional, then it just is thinking. And in thinking, there's a level of clarity. And in clarity, you have to look at that big picture understanding of really feeling connected to all that is and feeling a deep sense of gratitude. So it is our character 4 that is open. It feels open. When you stand on a beach and look out over the ocean at the sunset and your heart just opens, that's your character 4 opening your heart. Or you're on a mountaintop and you feel this expansive openness. It's so beautiful. So it's open and it's expansive. It's connected to all. And it's that divine spark inside of us, that piece of us that is just so grateful that I exist as life at all. What a miracle of life I can be. I am simply because I'm alive. And I'm alive as a part of one human family because we're all connected. And it's just this miracle of humanity. So I'm open and generous of spirit. And in that, I feel this incredible sense of deep inner peace. I am comfortable inside of time. I'm supportive and nurturing of others because they're just an extension of me. This part of me is non-judgmental because it's just compassionate and it feels like love. It feels like love. And when I look at my dog or I snuggle my dog at night and I'm just saying goodnight to this beautiful creature and I just feel that sense of love, I know this is my character 4 meeting generally her character 4. It is so beautiful in these relationships that we create. It loves unconditionally. It's like, I don't care who you are or what you do or what's going on. I love you no matter what. This is our intuitive nature, because we're intuitive when we can look at the big picture and see how all the different pieces fit together. It accepts what is. It doesn't question. It simply accepts and is open to what is. It feels like gratitude. It has an intention of just being love. It is our integrity. It is our authenticity. It is honest, and it is our holiest nature. So this is a part of us that many of us express in different ways. Some of us reach that through prayer, or we reach that through a mantra, or we reach that through nature, or we reach that through simply gazing into the eyes of an other, whether it's the light shining through the trees as the leaves drop, or in this beautiful little creature right here you probably can't see. So this is our character 4, and this is a part that we all have. All 4 of these characters we all have, and accessing and knowing how to tune in moment by moment is that power that we have. So this is right thinking. This is good with all that is, whatever is. Do you recognize this part of yourself? Let's go right back into the chat. Your mom self. Touchy-feely me. Do you recognize this part of yourself? And if so, use some words to describe this part of yourself. Serenity, joy, love, giver. As a leader. Yes, as a leader, oh my gosh, what a great leader to have a character 4. Just being the spirit that is, peaceful, reflective, quiet, surrender, exactly. Yes, all this, the reconciler, exactly. It just is. What is. Okay, so then can you give this part of yourself a name? And where or when do you feel this part of yourself? Gracie, yes, this is our ultimate grace. The maximizer, flow, absolutely perfect. The yogi, the true self. Exactly, kindness, agape, peaceful, nature, all this. Yoda, I got Yoda. Here, look, I got a Yoda. That's my little character 4 right there. And here's my little character 4 with a sense of humor eating my little frog self. Anyway, sorry, I got dolls. Tai Chi, peacemaker. Do you like this part of yourself? I cannot imagine anyone saying no, but do you? Do you like this part of yourself? And who reaches out to this part of you? Meditation. Who reaches out to this part of yourself? And then just consider, is there anyone in your world who does not resonate with this part of you? And if they do not, isn't that an interesting relationship? Which of their 4 characters does not resonate well with your character 4? So what we're doing here is we're building this network of awareness of who are we as these 4 characters, and the power that we have to choose moment by moment which of these characters we want to be. You have the power to choose moment by moment who and how you want to be. You have the power. We all have that power. We don't have to live a reactive life. And when we know what our alternative is, then wow, that's when we can really choose. You know, right now, you're really hooking into my character 2. I feel my trigger, my threshold, you're going for it. And it's like, no, I'm going to give you my 1. And I'm just going to settle it all down, and I'm going to give you my rational. And isn't it interesting, those people who want to push your buttons? So I think it's important that you learn those people. You think about those relationships. So bringing these 4 characters into conversation is our power. And that's a tool we call the brain huddle. But before I get to the brain huddle, Dr. Donna, you want to see where, preach it, girl. Thank you. Are there some questions or
There are.
let's
There
go
are,
from there.
and feel free, anyone, if you have questions, please go ahead and put those in the chat. But a first kind of important question is, how much does culture and race impact the development of the characters, if at all?
So I think I'm gonna say culture, everything will influence our what is acceptable in our culture. If I'm brought up in a culture, if I'm brought up as in a culture where there's a lot of meditation and there's a lot of Tai Chi, I'm probably not going to establish a whole lot of character too, because I'm going to have other tools well exercised to be able to fall back onto those of characters 3 and 4. If I'm brought up in an environment where I have an extremely powerful character 1, mother and father, and my character 2 is rejected, then my character 2 is probably going to get pretty strong because I'm a feeling creature who thinks, but I'm not going to have an outlet for it. And if I don't have a healthy outlet for it, I'm going to find unhealthy outlets for it. So environment influences it, but biologically and anatomically, we all have all 4. And the ultimate evolution of humanity is going to be creating the integration between the thinking and emotional tissue on same side, the thinking tissue on both sides, and the emotion tissue on both sides, so that we do have the next tool available to us, which is the brain huddle, of being able to bring them all online in the present moment at the same time, getting everyone's input and opinion, and then I choose in this, now I'm going to walk the walk of my character 1, or now I'm going to walk the walk of my character 3, or whatever.
Wonderful. Here's a great question. If we are feeling creatures who think, how can we think to call a brain huddle when character 2 fears are triggered?
Because we let character 2 call. That's the beauty of the brain huddle, is we train all 4 characters and we practice all 4 characters calling the huddle. Now, character 1, if I'm up in the office and I say, okay, I'm looking at my clock, it says, okay, on the hour, I'm going to call a huddle to practice. So character 1, she's got nothing really invested in it other than getting to know the others. Character 2, are you okay? Yeah, character 2's okay. Character 3, you good? I'd like to go out and play with the dog, whatever. Character 4 is good, right? So, but character 2, the true art is training our character 2 to call the huddle when we feel our pain. And oftentimes our character 2 does not want to call a huddle because we want to feel our pain. And I'm going to be the first person to say it is important that we feel our pain. However, pain is a lesson, not a lifestyle. And if I'm too attached to my anger or my sadness or my envy or my whatever it is I'm feeling, then I need to have a little chat with myself and with my other characters, because we need to train little character 2 to let characters 1, 3, and 4 come in and be a part of the whole brain.
So in training those characters, and maybe, Jill, this might be a time to talk about the 90-second rule of, because is that a tool that we can apply to help that character 2 to learn it? And do you want to explain that?
Yes. So when you think about your brain, there's only 3 things going on at any moment in time. We are feeling emotions, we are thinking thoughts, and we are experiencing a physiological response to what we're thinking and what we're feeling, and that ends up looking like behavior, so output of the system. So as we look at cells in circuits, when cells get triggered, when any reflex gets triggered, so if I have, if I get triggered emotionally and I'm going to run my anger circuit, from the moment I think the thought that I'm going to be mad, or I just feel the emotion gets triggered, and then I run a physiological response to what I'm thinking and feeling about that anger circuit, from the beginning of the trigger until it's completely flushed out of my bloodstream takes less than 90 seconds. So what that means is that if I am emotionally triggered, or if you hit the patella tendon on my knee, or if we're having a reflexive thinking patterns of automaticity, then these things run for less than 90 seconds. So this is a tool that we can use, that if I actually do feel emotionally triggered, then I know 90 seconds. And if I'm willing to look at my watch before, there's, I feel it in my body. I feel the physiological response. I'm going to get rageful. I'm going to yell. My shoulders go up. My chest gets tight and constricts my lungs. I get a furrow in my brow. I clench my jaw. All kinds of nasty things are running through my brain that I want to yell and scream. All of that flushes through and out of me in less than 90 seconds. So what am I doing during that 90 seconds? I have some say. And I can actually then observe instead of engage. And so if I feel myself being triggered, I can actually look at my watch and I can observe that little time go around for 90 seconds. And instead of engaging in that rage, I'm observing the circuitry dissipate.
Yeah, and I can say that when we were doing the research in many of the schools, we taught the 90-second rule. And for teachers and parents, that made a tremendous difference just in their lives if they were triggered, especially by their children. Giving themselves that 90 seconds, they reported back to us, shifted the way that they engage with their children. It's just that 90 seconds of being able to watch their own, whether it's anger or stress.
Right, whatever it is. And essentially, I mean, why does counting to 10 work? Because it probably takes about 90 seconds. Why does walking it off work? Different things that we already do culturally, why do they work? Because they're the 90 seconds. They're the 90-second rule.
Exactly. So when PTSD, Dr. Jill, is that something that alters the brain, and does it alter the whole brain? Like, are there best ways to handle PTSD?
Well, it's interesting in our society. I was interviewed a few years ago by someone in the veterans and in the military. No, it's the DOD. They came and they were looking at what is PTSD. And they were absolutely shocked to hear me say, well, it's cells and circuit. And when those circuits get triggered, then you're running loops. And depending on the loops that you're running and how loud and what the trigger is and what my relationship is to my healthy loops out here, can I stop myself from having a flashback? And I personally know that I can, because I have had 2 flashbacks for my stroke. And after the first one happened automatically, and I was experiencing my stroke, but I wasn't experiencing my stroke. And it was triggered by somebody was gluing carpet down in my office. It was a new carpet, and they were gluing. It was the organic smells triggered a stroke, but I wasn't having a stroke. It triggered a flashback of the stroke. And this happened twice to me. And then I have had several opportunities to run that again. And I've been able to shut it down, because now I know that circuitry, I can step outside of it. And I think that that's why the whole psychedelic journey is getting such an emphasis right now, is because what do psychedelics do to the brain? They zap you out of the circuitry of character 2. They put you into the present moment experience. They blast your world apart, your worldview, so that you don't have a past and you don't have a future. All you have is the experience of the present moment. And then when you come down out of that, you realize, oh, what happened to me was 30 years ago, and it's simply cells inside of my brain running a circuit, and I don't have to give it all that power anymore. And so people are training themselves out of their own PTSD based on these forms of therapy.
Makes great sense. And a question about COVID. Did COVID affect our brain characters? So did the experience of the pandemic affect the development of characters?
I don't think it impacted the development, but I think I think we all took our own character's ride. I mean, alcohol consumption went up off the charts, drug addiction off the charts, depression, suicide, sadness, isolation off the charts. So a lot of our little character twos didn't manage the COVID well. Some of us loved it. It was like, oh my God, I don't have to go to work. I get to go do my art. I get to go do my music. I get to go do my work when I want to get my work done. I get to Zoom my family. I don't have to get out of my pajamas. A lot of character threes loved COVID. If they could keep themselves healthy. A lot of character ones got really stressed out because, oh my God, now do we wear a mask? Do we not wear a mask? What if you're not wearing your mask? I'm not going to say it impacted the development. I think we all had a ride, and we can all look at ourselves. Some of us got very spiritual and said, oh my gosh, we haven't had something like this in our lifetime. This is profound. People are dying. How can I hold the space for those people who are in the worst case scenarios, and really used ourselves as spiritual bodies and energetic balls in order to try to support and love those people who were in those situations. So I think that we definitely were impacted. And that's the thing. If I have my 4 characters well developed, and I know as soon as I dip into my character 2, do I want to spend time there? Is there something for me to learn there? Or is this a part of me that isn't necessarily healthy and I need to go walk my dog instead of open that bottle of wine? Then, we're all making choices. We're all constantly making choices.
Perfect. Another question about whole brain living and the concept of the characters. What's the best advice you have for parents of small children in applying whole brain living?
Teach them about their 4 characters. Kids pick this stuff up immediately. If you watch SpongeBob, if you watch any cartoons, and you say, okay, which character is structured and organized and likes to be the boss? They'll tell you. Right? Okay, that's your character 1. Let's name your character 1. Are you ever bossy in that part of you? Okay, well, let's give it a name. Name these kids. Teach your kids their own names. Kids pick this stuff up amazingly well. And the beauty of children, my favorite example is, a little child is running and they fall over. And they hit their knee, and they look around. Okay, am I going to be a character 2 and wail because somebody's going to pay attention and I'm going to get some attention? Or nobody's around anyway, so I'm going to get up and keep going. And I'm going to be a little character 3. They're constantly making these decisions. And to bring children into the awareness of their own 4 characters and in observing, but be careful because now they're going to start watching your 4 characters. And I don't know how many little children I've had now come to me and say, my mommy, she was in her character too. And it was like, and mommy really doesn't want you to talk to me about her character. But educate them. That's what I say is educate them.
My favorite story from the research is about the little 4th grader who took the book her mom was reading because her mom was in the parent group. So the parents read the book and the teachers and staff read the book, and then we did workshops with them. But this little 4th grader took her mom's book, and then the 4th grader gave her parents 4 envelopes. And on the outside of the envelopes was a statement that said, open if, and then it filled in the blanks. So open if I don't clean my room. And then inside it was what that character needed. So open if I don't clean my room. And when you open the inside, it said, can you please gently tell me, because that's my character 3 playing and I get distracted. So it kind of explained why she might not clean her room. And the most beautiful one was the envelope that said, open if I'm just really quiet. And then when you open the envelope, it said, I just need a hug. I don't want to talk. And that's her character 2. It was one of the most amazing things. So we started telling parents about this, and having parents then ask their kids if they wanted to create open if envelopes, because kids have their own interpretation of what their characters exhibit. And it's beautiful. Another question, do we have a dominant character, and can we feel more than one character at the same time?
So we do have, most of us do have a dominant character, and the whole point here is to even that out a little bit. A lot of people have a character that has been rejected. Some of us, it's character 2. I'm not allowed to feel my pain. I'm not allowed to cry. I'm not allowed to hurt. I'm not allowed to act out. I'm not allowed to, nobody comes to my character 2. It's rejected. And so, that's only going to push it down and squash it. Some people view some strong characters 1s, see character 3 as a total waste of time. And so, if you've been brought up in an environment where character 3's been pushed down, rarely has character 1 been pushed down, because character 1 is character 1, creates order in the world. And character 4 is just kind of neglected in our society overall. So, yes, most of us tend to have a dominant. My dominant's character 3. I like her, I enjoy her, but I have a very healthy relationship with my character 1, Helen. So we have, very specific agreements with one another. Like Helen might say to Pigpen, hey, we got to take care of business. I need all day Sunday or all day Friday, or I need all day Friday to do work. We got to go to the office. And Pigpen says, oh, you mean I can play in the art space for 4 days, and you're only going to drag me off to the office on Friday? And Helen says, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, under that condition, if you need half a Saturday, you can have that too. And our parts become very generous with one another when they're being considered. It's like being in the presence of 4 very considerate teammates. And who doesn't want that life?
Yeah, there's a great comment too from Dr. Miller of, do we have life experience that force the overdevelopment of a particular character?
Absolutely. Everything can be situational. If I'm in an environment that if I have whatever my home environment is, and even if my parent is an alcoholic and somebody has to take care of the kids and I'm the oldest kid, I'm going to show up more as a character 1. There's a reason why the oldest children are very often strong character 1s. There are reasons why the baby of the family is often very strongly a character 3. So absolutely, situation, everything is, the beauty of being a biological creature is that we are half biology and we are half circumstance within which we live. So if I'm a cell and and there's a lot of acid in the environment around me, I'm going to respond to that regardless of my biology. But it's this, my life then becomes this magical combination of the two. So the nature or nurture just makes no sense to me, as much as right brain or left brain doesn't make any sense to me either. We are one brain. And to bring all of that into a whole brain life brings all of it into my ability to have control over my own who, what, when, where, why, and how, to the best of my circumstances.
Yeah, very, very true. And what advice do you have for either teachers or professors and using whole brain living with their students or each other?
Teach them. Teach them. Model for them. Absolutely model for them. And I'm an educator. I believe in education. I think, to me, this is what happens. If I'm born and I have this thing, and this thing is my hand, and I learn that this thing eventually is attached to me and that I can use this, then I can use it to push things away or to pull things close or to comb my hair or to do things. I have a tool. But if I have differentiation, and that's like a brain. If I have a brain, okay, I'm flopping around, I'm being kind of automatic through life. But if I have fingers, if I have the differentiation of each of those 4 fingers, then that's like having the differentiation of these 4 parts of my brain. All of a sudden, I have access to all that that tool can bring my life. And when I have that level of clarity and understanding, I'm no longer in conflict with myself. And if I'm no longer in conflict with myself, I have the power to pick deep inner peace at any moment. I'm not contributing to whatever problems or the energetic of conflict or triggering or whatever's going on. I can choose to be neutral. And if I bring myself as something neutral into a relationship with another person, then, oh my gosh, don't I want that other person to have these 4 tools too, these 4 characters too, and the tool of the brain huddle to be able to bring them all online. And then I'm interacting with a conscious 4 and you're managing a conscious 4. So why wouldn't I want to share this with the world, right? Why wouldn't I want to share this with everyone on this call? Why wouldn't I want to share it with every police person and every judge and every teacher and everyone with a brain? And I do. So to me, this tool, this awareness, we've all been looking for tools to help us find more peace in the world, but peace begins with me. How cliched was that? But it's the truth. Peace begins with me. And if I live a life of peace, then that's what I'm projecting and that's what I'm encouraging around me. And if I understand your little character 2 needs love, and if I understand that your little character 2 is acting out, how can I bring in my own character 4 to support and love your little character 2 so that your little character 2, with my 1, I can fix anything that immediately needs to be fixed if we're in danger. My character 4 can come in and be open and loving and connect with, so that whatever your pain is, I can share that. It's acceptable and it's okay. And how do we communicate that? And then ultimately my little 3 can come in and nudge and say, okay, you want to go play now? And allow that 90 seconds of pain to resonate as a shared experience. So to me, whole brain living, it's based on the brain. It's not like a typical model or a theory. It's just based on our brain, based on the differentiation of the anatomy of our own brain in these 4 characters. How do we live a life of peace so that we can actually create the world we want to create?
Yeah, very, very true. I mean, it even points to the power of this with children is amazing. So one of the things that happened during the course of the research was students picked this up from their teachers. Teachers found it that it gave a language to be able to quickly identify without feeling words, because everybody has different interpretations, what was happening with a student. And so there was a moment, I was at a school when 2 middle school boys were fighting. And they knew whole brain living, and we had talked to their teacher, and the teacher had shared the characters, and all the kids named their characters. And the 2 boys were fighting, as middle schoolers might do. Maybe it's a rare occasion. But one of the middle schoolers, the principal had asked me to talk to, and then she talked to the other. And the kid was doing what a typical kid would do, is fighting. He's justifying and thought that I was going to, impose discipline. And instead I just said, tell me what character you're in. Then he named his character 2. He said right away that he was character 2. And he said, because he wanted to punch something. And it took him probably less than 60 seconds to say, oh, wait, I can choose to be character 3 instead. I don't have to be a jerk. I can choose to be something else, because I also had asked him then, what character was the other kid in? And it's so easy for them to find each other's characters. And as Jill said, they'll start identifying it in you, especially children. Say, hey, you're now being a character 2, for whatever reason they might do. So it's a powerful piece of work.
Well, and I love it. I love it so that you can say to a child, okay, we get 15 more minutes of character 3, and then I need your character 1, and we got to get ready for bed. Deal? And they go, because they understand. I mean, that just cuts through to what is the true communication here? And what do you really want from me? And where's the miss? And I can actually now say to my brother, when you do this, this stimulates my character 2 in this way. And when it stimulates my character 2 in this way, this is how I want to treat you. And so instead I say, I'll talk to you later, goodbye. So his interpretation of me saying, I'll talk to you later, goodbye, he didn't understand that I was personally offended because his reality is very different from mine as someone with schizophrenia.
Yeah, beautiful. Jill, did you want to go on with the brain?
I want to talk to Molly.
Okay, then you go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Jill. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Molly. I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. It's so good to see you. And I wanted you to know that we started using our characters at our office where I was principal. And whenever I would be completely having a million things to do, my colleague, Denise, would come to my door and say, someone's in their character 1, I'm going to close your door. Like she knew. She was like, and it's rare that Molly appears in character 1. So whenever I would, she'd be like, we're going to close the door. And I think I shared this story with you too. We had a little guy, not diagnosed, but we believed on the spectrum, a lot of emotions, a lot of challenges, 3rd grade. And he would come in so dysregulated. And whenever I'm with Dr. Keel and we're talking to faculty, we always talk about how you can't rationalize with a dysregulated child. You have to meet them where they are. And we would say to him, he'd come in so upset and emotional, all character 2 on us. And then we would say, hey, you know what? I've got this sorting job for you. Do you mind doing that for me for a little while? And then as he would calm down, he became available to us to do whatever needed to be done. And I think that's just such a nice, kind, compassionate way to look at meeting kids when they are dysregulated, anyone when they're dysregulated, and honoring them without shame. I just think it's a real superpower.
Yeah, that's a beautiful example because, and essentially you're hooking into the evolution of his brain. He has a character 1 designed for sorting and organizing and creating order. And by shifting that child into just running the circuitry, then the character 1 comes more online and the character 2 can dissipate and run through its loop so that you can actually then have he's in a completely different place. Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful example.
So brain huddle, Jill?
Brain huddle. So the tool, it's one thing to know the 4 characters, but the power of this material is when I need it, I have it. And so I practice it so that when I need it, I have it. It's just like anything else. It's going to be like if you practice meditation, it becomes a tool you can use. If you practice yoga, it becomes a tool you can use. If you ride a bicycle, it becomes a tool you can use. Whatever you practice will grow inside of your brain. And that's the beauty of brain cells, is that the more often you run a circuit, then the more that circuit begins to run on automatic. So the power of the brain huddle is, the design is, it's the acronym BRAIN, and B stands for breath. So why, and the ultimate goal here is to bring all 4 characters online at the same time. Well, you can't do a brain huddle if you don't know who your characters are. And that's why I encourage people to really take quality time when you are being a character 1 and you notice, yes, right now I'm doing a character 1 thing. Well, how do I sit? How do I stand? How do I speak? What clothing do I wear? Do I have earrings in? It's going to be very predictable character. What does it feel like inside of my body? How does character 1 hold my body versus character 3? Character 3 is lounging and rocking, and she's got her feet up. She's playing with the dog. Character 1 is going to sit up, speak clearly, create order, try to be concise and understandable. So think about each of these characters and what do they feel like inside of your body. And then once you know all of that about your own 4 characters, the brain huddle, B, breath. Breath is in the present moment. All of these other tools all focus on breath. Why? It's in the present moment. It brings you into your characters 3 and 4. Automatically, right here, right now, present moment is character 3, character 4, right brain. And most of us in our society are left brain dominant. And most of us, as left brain dominant, spend very little time actually in the present moment. We're usually thinking about something in the past, something someone said, something someone did, something we need to do tomorrow when we wake up. Give us the list, da 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 da. You know it, it's your brain. So breath, bring your mind to the present moment. R stands for recognize who called the huddle. Who called the huddle? And practice, seriously, practice 3, 4, 5 times a day. Each character, I really do mean that, each character calling the huddle. So character 1, typical huddle. Character 1 will look at the watch and say, yeah, it's huddle time. Character 2, you good? Character 2 is going, yeah, because it's important to notice how much time you spend with your character 2 good. So that all the attention to character 2 isn't just when character 2 is not good. So if you're in your character 1 doing character 1 stuff, character 2 is probably pretty quiet and pretty good. Yeah, character 2, good. Character 3, good. Character 3, good. And they all have different voices. Character 4, good. Character 4 doesn't have a voice. It's just a sense of peace. So it's like, okay, who called the huddle? So a character 4, my character 4 might call the huddle. It's so easy to do. I'm in the beautiful woods. I have beautiful fall colors. The winds are blowing. The leaves are falling. My whole soul becomes that. And it's like, yeah, now's a great time for a huddle. And so my 4 says 1, and 1's going, oh yeah, you take it 4, you just take the moment, just go. And character 2, you good. Character 2 is good, good, good. Character 3, you good. Character 3 is good. Character 4 takes just breath and has the huddle of experience, calls the huddle. Character 2 might call a huddle, might resist calling a huddle because character 2 might want to be mad instead. And I want to be mad. And I want to run another 90-second circuit of being mad. And then I'm going to call my friend Donna and I'm going to be mad with her because I just not ready to let go of my mad or my sad or my whatever it is. And it's like, so character 2 tends to want to hold on and run and run and run and rah, 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 rah. And it's like, whoo, that's hard. But let's say I'm just mad, just mad. And then I got to get on here and I got to like talk to people and I got to act like a character 1. And it's like, okay, but I'm really still mad. So it's like, okay, have a huddle because, we got a reason to have a huddle. And so 1, are you there? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm here. Do you need me to fix something for you? What can I do? And it's like, oh, set up the computer. And then it says character 4, are you good? And it's like, well, I'm here when you're ready to like release and let me in. I'm with you. And it's like character 3. And it's like, oh, I got to run out and I got to pee the dog before I'm on the computer for 2 hours. And it's like, so, but every character needs to call a huddle. Everyone, breath, bring your mind to the present moment. R, recognize which one called the huddle. A, appreciate, regardless of who called the huddle, there's always 4. And we can all be called into the present moment. A, I, inquire. Which character do I want to be? Well, let's say right before this, maybe I was in my 2 and I needed to be in my 1 and it's like huddle. And it's like, okay, Helen wins, we're going to be 1 and then navigate moment by moment, and at some point, yeah, I'm going to show you my Pigpen because Pigpen wants to come out and play. And this is what Pigpen was when I was a little infant Pigpen. And here's my Helen. I got to show you my dolls. Here's my Helen when I was in college, and then Helen grew up to be like a Helen, right? And then I got my little pain and my little 2, right? I got my little boo pain, and so and I got my I'm gonna get you character 2. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. And then this one is like, what is really going on, right? A little consternation. And then there's always this little character 2. I mean, I got them all down. So the brain huddle is the power in any moment to hit the neutral button on anybody, bring them all in and say, okay, in the next moment, who do I want to be? I have the power to choose moment by moment who and how I want to be. I have that power. And this is my well-being, right? This is how I provide well-being for me. So who are your 4 characters? Think about them, know them. What's the relationship like between them? Think about that. Get to know them. And then how easy is it for you to choose your character for what? For love, when push comes to shove and all the life has gone by and it's just time, I got to shut her all down and I got to feel my peace. And what is peace? The attributes of my well-being is calm. I feel tranquil and balanced. I feel expansive and open and connected. I feel loving. I feel kind. I feel grateful. My well-being is my right thinking tissue of my character 4. That's my well-being. And my ability to get there is my choice. And we all have that power in any moment. So what are the obstacles? Mental busyness of my character 1. Monkey mind. Got to do this. Got to do that. Got to get this done. That's not right. That's wrong. That's good. That's bad. Got to fit myself in. Got to comb my hair. Got to put on my glasses. Got to make it look right. Da, 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 da. That's in the way of my well-being. That's busy. My fear and anxiety and my deep emotions of my character 2. They're beautiful, they're necessary, they're important, but they are an obstacle to me feeling my peacefulness. So what do I do with them? How do I go in as my character 4 and love myself when I'm feeling fear? Love myself when I'm feeling anxious. Love myself when I'm feeling any of these deep emotions. Allow myself to work through that with my loving character 4. Another obstacle is the unconscious distractions of my character 3. If I'm just here and there and boom and then my life isn't being tended to. And I need my character 1 time, and I need my character 3, and I need my character 4, and I need my character 2, because my character 2 is like the pointer to what needs to be looked at. Where do I need to grow? And that's my power. And when we have that power, that's the power of the brain is the inhibition. And this green cell that you're looking at, this is a GABA cell. And this is what I was famous for at Harvard right before I had my stroke. I was a cover girl. This was a cover. And the red is serotonin and the yellow is dopamine and the green is GABA. And so this is the networking of our cells. Every ability we have is because of these networks, but they don't have to just run on automatic. And that green cell, that GABA cell, the power of our brain is in our inhibition, and it's in those cells. So just knowing that we are wired for inhibition, not just excitation and go reactivity, but we're wired for inhibition, and we can grow that circuitry inside of our brain is our power. So it all boils down to, what are you doing with your power? What are you doing with your power? And this is your power, and this is your power, and you know this, then you change your whole life. You change every moment, you change every relationship, you just change. And it's a beautiful way to live life, is in this sense of deep inner peace. Because when you project that into the world, wow, that's mirror neurons. If I'm good, if I'm feeling my peace, it spreads like wildfire, just like all the emotions do. Peace does too.
Thank you, Jill. So we invite anyone who wants to ask questions. If you want to either put them in the chat or raise your hand, we'd be happy to do that. Jill, on behalf of the college, I want to deeply thank you for the time and for sharing your expertise. Within the College of Education, we have, teacher preparation, we have special ed, and we have educational leadership, we have curriculum studies, and we have one of the best counseling programs. And so one of the questions is, how could whole brain living be integrated into the counseling relationship, either school counseling or mental health counseling?
Well, I'm a huge advocate that people shouldn't preach it until they master it. So wherever that lands in the school is where you need to begin with it.
Mhm.
A lot of therapists come to me and they say, oh, I want to use this with my population. And it's like, I'm great with that, but you need to know all 4 of your characters intimately, and you need to have mastered being able to call a brain huddle, because otherwise it just becomes another thing that gets used, that gets tested on, and then gets gone. And so I think you need to look at, how do we build this as a part of the culture of the environment, so that people who work together respect it and can work together practicing it, and then take it, take it, and then take it down and take it into higher levels of integration.
That's great. Another question is, how does the whole brain living and the 4 characters relate to individuals who might be either neurodivergent or autistic or have other types of brain activity that's out of the norm?
Well, that's a big question, because the brain's a big place. And if you've got somebody who is, I mean, even something like cerebral palsy. I talked to a man on the phone the other day, and I never, ever, ever in a million years would have guessed he had any diagnosis. And he said, yeah, I have cerebral palsy, and my body doesn't function, but his mind was perfectly fine. And yet I've known cerebral palsy people with that diagnosis who were at the other end of a spectrum of function. Autism is going to be the same thing. So it's all going to depend on the wiring of that particular brain. But I will say this, and levels of conscious awareness of ability to interact with oneself. My brother, diagnosed with schizophrenia, he would never listen to me or anything about his brain, because his delusion is that he's Michael the White Horseman. So my brother is in 24/7 conversation with Jesus, literally with Jesus. And if he's talking to Jesus all the time, he ain't going to listen to his little sister, right? So I'm never going to help him expand his reality base using the 4 characters. He's just close to it. So I think every person is different. I think that the biology underlies in 99.99999% of the people, because there's just tiny percent of people who are born with only one hemisphere. I have not explored whole brain living with someone who only has one hemisphere, only because I haven't met any. But from a biological perspective, we have 2 emotional systems. We have 2 thinking systems. Those modules of cells manifest skill sets that end up manifesting in the world skill sets that look like personalities. So I have had many people who have family members who are on the autistic scale, and they will come in and one person might say, my family member's character 1 is so strong, and they're, the details and the this and the that, and they're really good with that. Or someone might come in and say, they're all character 3 and there's no character 1 attachment. So as we look at neurotypical versus neuroatypical, wow, there's, diversity is everything.
Which is so important. So another important question, which always, I think most of the questions that I've ever heard come to you always focus on character 2, because that's where we have the greatest struggle. If given what's going on in our world today, and in both the United States and across the sea, and if that's activating your character 2, and it's activating character 2s in your household, what's the best way? And how do you calm that character 2?
I think it's really, first of all, I'm going to go back to the concept of the more you run a circuit inside of your brain, the stronger that circuit becomes. Eventually, it will run on automatic, which is why practicing the brain huddle and getting to know all 4 of your characters is so important. The more you practice them, they begin to run on automatic. And then it's like, oh yeah, I had a little spontaneous 3 pop in, or, oh yeah, I had a moment of 4, or yeah, I spent the morning as a 1, or, and just this awareness. And I think that love overrides all fear. And so if we're watching the news, if you're watching the news, who's watching the news? If you're watching the news and your character 2 is watching the news, and actually my character 2 watches different news than my character 1. Pay attention. Which part of you is actually watching the news? And then if you're in a family and everybody's in their character 2 and everybody's all in their character 2, it doesn't mean that you have to be there. It means that, yeah, but right now we do have control over what we're having for dinner. And we do have control over our own little lives inside of this house. And we do have the right to say, if you're going to run the news all day, then we need you to, do you want to really increase that angst that we're all feeling by talking about that over dinner? I'm a stickler. I believe that my space is my space and it's a sacred space. And especially if I am eating, I don't want to go off in the pain of the universe, the pain of the world. That's not when I'm going to talk about what's going on in the news. I think putting reasonable limitations on how much time we spend regurgitating character 2 stuff within our relationship. I have a right to say, I'm sorry, I'm on overload. I can't do that anymore. Let's go bowling, right? Or let's go for a dog walk, or I'm gonna extract me from this conversation. Thanksgiving is coming up. I love when families get together and it's like we all revert to our childhood relationships, right? So I'm a 64-year-old woman and my brother is 66. My one was schizophrenia, and we've got our pattern. And it's like, as soon as you get us together, it's like we're big brother, little brother, and we're back to the same little character 2 snarky stuff. And it's like, but it takes 2. It takes 2 to tango. And this is so powerful because if he comes in and he's going to 2 me to death because that's the dance we do. And I don't want to tango. I want to do a waltz. I'm going to shift into my character 3 and I'm going to be playful. Now, he doesn't have to participate in that playfulness, but I can. And he doesn't have the power. This is so important. He doesn't have the power to pull me into my character 2 without my permission. Without my permission. So whether it's conscious or unconscious permission, I don't want to give other character 2s the power to pull me into my 2. And in any relationship, in any moment, watch this as you do dinner tonight, watch this tomorrow as you interact with people. In any interaction, you're one of your 4 characters, they're in one of their 4 characters, and one of those characters is going to win the moment. Who's going to win the moment? Well, if I'm just like, okay, I'm a character 1 and I'm being a character 1 and my dog wants to come up and play. Sorry, I talk about her a lot because I'm madly in love with my new dog. But anyway, and she wants to play and I'm in my character 1 and I'm not going to play right now. But how am I going to interact and communicate that with her so that she doesn't move into her 2 and start chewing up my shoes? Right? How do I let her know? Yeah, we'll go play. Yeah, we'll go play. And how do we communicate around this? But no one can move us into our character 2 without our permission. And that's not my line. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt said, you can't ruin my day without my permission, or something very similar to that. And that is so true. So watch the dynamics, watch the games people play, because we're all character 4 just running on automatic, spewing our stuff, but you can win the moment. You don't have to buy into someone else's character 2. And oftentimes, if you don't do that, then if you purposely try to pull them into play of your 3 or into a holy prayerful moment of your 4, wow. And I do this all the time with people. They're in there too. They're grand. And I'll look out the window and I go, oh my God, look at the beauty out there. Just wow. Can you imagine? Can you believe that? And it's like all of a sudden, yeah, I just changed the subject and now they're out there and my heart has expanded and their mirror neurons are feeling, oh, she's in her character 4, big love here. And so they're either going to go along with my character 4 and move into that, or they're just going to keep chewing that bone, at which point I might get up and walk the dog around the block. You know, pay attention, because every moment is a learning moment of whole brain living, because every moment you're in a character or they're in a character, as soon as there's 2 of us, there's 8 of us.
That's so beautiful. Well, Jill, we only have a couple of minutes left. Anything you want to conclude with?
You know, you have so much more power over what's going on inside of our head than we have ever been taught. We did not come into life with a manual. To me, whole brain living is a roadmap to how to live a fantastic life. And I just want to say thank you, because you're here. You cared enough to sign up, to show up, to be here. And even, you know, sometimes you got to tickle those neurons a lot of times before you really open them up. But, you know, this is just, it's just beautiful material. And I truly feel like this is the work of my life. I think it's why I had that stroke. If there was a reason why I had that stroke, I was 37, studying at Harvard, area of focus. How does our brain create our perception of reality? And you got to be careful what you ask the universe for, because boy, did it give me a lesson in how our brain creates our perception of reality. And I just feel so blessed. It's been 25 years of being able to share some kind of understanding so that people can feel more peace in their lives. And so thank you. I just want to say thank you for showing up and for inviting me along for the ride.
Well, we sincerely thank you, Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor. We thank you not only for the gift you're giving to the world, but for changing the world one brain at a time. So thank you so, so much. Dean Miller, anything you want to add as we close?
I will just add my thanks. This is fantastic, and I love life-changing things, and I think this really is life-changing. So much appreciated. We don't get those opportunities very often, and now we have a way to control it a little bit more. So it's fantastic. Thank you.
Beautiful. And I'm in your department, I think. Am I in your department?
You are.
I'm in your department. So use me. Use me. Figure out how I can get plugged in to your system to help make your world a more peaceful place.
And so closing, I'm going to quote Anya, who's got this in the chat, Jill, so you don't miss it. And it says, "This is going down as one of my most valued, empowering, informational learning experiences." So thank you all so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. See you soon.
Okay.
Jill, thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.